Evening, gents. Undead bringing you another battle report, this time against goblins, I suppose, and orcs. Another 2,000 point game. My MSU Daemons, nothing changed in them. So, taking a quick look at the goblins, we had dawn attack this game, which means deployment obviously wasn't optimal for either of us. It also means it takes a lot of photos to actually determine what's going on because, well, it's spread over the entirety of the board. So starting off in the top left corner here, we see it going from left to right. It's one rock lobber, a goblin chariot. That massive eagle there is actually proxying for a mangler squig. 70 goblins, night goblins. Obviously a couple fanatics stuck in there, spears, nets. Then at the back there we see a spear chucker, another goblin chariot. Then we see the edge of the big gun unit. So that's a unit of orc big guns, not savage. Inside there's a BSB and a Black Orc general, or one of them's a Black Orc at any rate. Then we see a pump wagon. Behind the house is a unit of night goblins. We'll see a better picture of them shortly. And a doom diver. So you can see that set up over there. My side, starting off from the bottom right, we have a unit of demonettes behind the house. Sorry, it's not the right. This is the bottom left again. So that's not behind the building. Those demonettes are actually inside the building. Unit of fleshhounds, unit of plague bearers. This was a result of ending up with them on the wrong side due to dawn attack. And behind them we have a unit of screamers. We then see the center where I have the unit of demonettes in the building. It's a unit of furies in front of the bloodletters. There's a fiend in front of the bloodletters, and then backed up by the fleshhounds, the flamers, and the second unit of screamers. And then on the far right flank I just have a single unit of flamers. That is a sorcerer's portal just in front of the fleshhounds, which actually killed a fair whack of my army throughout the course of the game. So my plan in this game is quite obviously to try shoot out and just let these flamers deal with that small unit of night goblins on their own, because they're pretty isolated from the general. I want to take out all of his support quite quickly and then just see if I can isolate and secure. I'm trying to pull off the same sort of stunt I did against the undead, where I was able to keep his one big scary block busy and just out of any meaningful combats for most of the game, while focusing on grinding down the unpleasant stuff. If possible, I'd like to even separate his big gun unit from those goblins, because it's really steadfast in their radius that's going to keep them there. If I can offer him something juicy to kill, he'll no longer have that radius and I'll be able to crack them, because leadership 5 isn't really going to hold on to anything. Okay, so let's see how it begins. So on the left flank, I don't really surprise anyone. My dogs move up fairly swiftly. I try not to get close enough that the mangler squig can hit them, and these screamers fly up. They're ready to fly by and annoy things, or if necessary, simply to charge the rock lobber. Like I said, I'm trying to take out his support as soon as possible. You can see my plague bearers are moving up to the edge of the river. They can't march through the river, normal rules for a river being the problem, and I'm going to have to somehow either drag him to me or simply delay things to get them across. They're the slowest units in my army and they're being slowed down by terrain. So I'm not a great fan of that. Maybe if I can drag the night goblins forward, I can get a charge out, and that'll at least leapfrog them a bit, but I'm not particularly hopeful about them. We then take a look into the middle. So the first thing I did was shove the fiend up to trigger fanatics. It appears there were only 2 fanatics in that unit. Both of them fell a bit short. But at least with the fanatics out, it slows him down a bit. And this is one of those things about fanatics. They're very scary when you're trying to actually close with an Orc and Goblin player. But they can be used to get in their way as well. And this is something you need to use if you're facing Orcs and Goblins. Those Night Goblin fanatics are an utter pain, especially when you're using light, very expensive troops like demons, like elves, like chaos. But if you can trigger those fanatics and get them in the way of those hard-hitting orc units, or just slowing down their whole battle line, then those fanatics are working for you and not them. So that's exactly what I did there with these fiends. Because of where the fanatics were, I was quite reasonably sure I wasn't getting charged. And it also means I could use the one fanatic to help block the line, and you'll see where I've got my furies angled. If his chariots want to charge the furies, which he actually does, the overrun takes him past the demonettes, which is exactly what I want. I don't want to have a unit of furies and half a unit of demonettes dead for a tiny little goblin chariots. And those things have a stupidly long charge range. Then I've moved up a generic battle line, as you can see, for the rest of it. I haven't really gotten fancy with these screamers. I'm planning to get irritating with them late game. I figure the fanatics and my fiend are doing more than enough to slow down his lines right here. Then look on the far side, so you can see I've gotten a little bit more aggressive with my flesh hounds, and that was a bit of a blunder. I underestimated the charge range of that pump wagon. Well, not really. I played the odds on it. I made sure I was 16 inches away, meaning the thing needs to roll a little bit above its average roll, because it can throw in an extra dice once to go 46 inches. He went for it and he got it, and we'll see the result of that later, but that was a nuisance. And then, as you can see, I've moved up my flamers. I want to start shooting out those night goblins. If he stays on this flank, they're doomed. I'm hoping to give him a reason to stay on this flank. I'm tempting him with the fanatic drop. What he should probably be doing is getting him into the building, letting me waste a couple fanatics through the forest, and then at least it's another block that can hold me up coming into the middle. But anyway, I unload shooting at them, and I don't quite kill enough. I kill one shy of enough for a panic test, which really would have been pretty. Okay, that's my turn 1. Let's see how he reacts. So no great surprises here. The Night Goblins march on forward and drop their fanatics, and they do pretty well. They knock out two flamers. I can live without that, but anyway. That's another unit of fanatics gone, and at least I can now just deal with the troops on the table. As you can see, the pump wagon shoves itself on forward, and yeah, it actually does a lot of damage to those flesh hounds. It manages to reach, it doesn't hurt itself in the forest, and once hitting, it kills, I think it kills 2 flesh hounds, and then the flesh hounds proceed to kill it. That of course doesn't help him much, because I've killed something in combat. I get to reform, and the flesh hounds reform facing the flank of those night goblins, which really dooms them. We then see on the other side, he declares a charge with both chariots at the furies. So the chariot on the left failed dismally, the chariot on the right hits the furies, and doesn't surprise anyone, it squashes those furies and it overruns. Just doesn't get far enough to avoid a flank charge from the demonettes, so we'll see how he reacts to that next turn. And he shoves the mangler towards these screamers on the far left, but he doesn't even get nearly close enough. And yeah, his war machines do a tiny amount of damage, but really nothing to talk about. I think they managed to kill 1 bloodletter, so really, I'm not particularly perturbed about that. Then he manages to do a little bit of damage with the Doom Diver, but again, nothing spectacular. And the Fiend shrugs off the wounds done by the Bolt Thrower. So, all in all, a first turn from him that's not particularly dangerous, and a turn that he needs to be dangerous, because he's got the long range game, and he's not going to have much of it after the next turn. Okay, so on to my second turn. So, not surprising anyone, the dogs charge into the flank of the goblins, but not before the Sorcerer's Portal manages to kill another one of them. The flamers get around on the other side. hoping to start hunting down the Doom Diver, and just to make life that little bit more irritating and bounce these Night Goblins out in the off chance that the dogs don't manage to catch them. Or even to flank if the goblins manage to hold. Which, you know, stranger things have happened. The Flamers then move themselves up, facing those Orc big guns, and I'm trying to tempt them into charging into the forest, really. I think it may have been later in the turn I actually moved some Screamers up behind them, or that might have been the next turn. Either way, I'm looking to irritate them and just try to separate them from the large unit of Night Goblins. So you see over here my Bloodletters moving up. Again, I'm just looking to really set a couple of traps for him. Up on the top left, though, you can see the Fleshhounds have charged their way into these chariots, to the flank of that chariot. So I'm looking to keep those trapped there. Bloodletters, okay, of course, are just looking to support. The Demonettes have actually charged the flank of that chariot, which is elected to flee. So they've got a failed charge. They're angled off a bit stupidly. There's not too much I can do about that. It just keeps one goblin chariot busy for a turn. And we see up at the top here, so there's the chariot that's buggered off. It's actually copped one wound from a fury, which is quite nice. These unit of Screamers has gone for the war machine. I really need to take those war machines out before they actually do something useful. And you can see a clearer view there of the Fleshhounds, who are now set to overrun into the side of these Night Goblins. As I note, he didn't actually have a choice to flee, because it turned out that forest, which we discovered when he had his failed charge with the chariot, is a fungus forest, which means he gets he ends up with immune to psych as a result of stupidity. So, stupid and stubborn goblins in a fungus forest being hit in the flank by Fleshhounds. It's not a good day. And in the middle there, I forgot to mention, but you can see the Fiend has charged off into that bolt thrower. Once again, I just want to get rid of as many of his support pieces as quickly as I can. And so then we go into the actual results of what's happened with all of these. So you see the Screamers managed to destroy the war machine, so the rock lob is down. The Fleshhounds managed to take down the chariot and overrun into the flank of the Night Goblins. The Fiend destroyed the bolt thrower and has reformed. And the dogs managed to kill these Night Goblins and run them down. Unfortunately, they've landed in a place that prevents me from charging my Flamers into the Doom Diver. Most of that corner there's a dead pile, but that Doom Diver behind the house is still very much alive. So all in all, a very successful turn, and the ball's firmly in his court how to respond.